Right now, some lawmakers continue to push to pass bills to limit the governor's executive powers, while others ask if it's safe for anyone to drive home on no sleep. We have live updates from the state capitol. And before Governor Walker can sign any of those potential bills, he'll be in Washington to honor our 41st president being laid to rest.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to News 3 This Morning. It's Wednesday, December 5th, and lots of stuff developing at the state capitol within the last 20 minutes here. Still developing as we speak. We're going to get a live update from Josh Spreiter coming up in just a couple of minutes. First, though, as always, we want to check in with Hattie McLean with a look at the weather today. A lot like yesterday, really.
Yeah, really. I haven't changed many things. Still just cloudy skies and cool conditions. Here's a live look from the Edgewater Skycam at downtown Madison, the capital. A few flurries this morning, but no issues with visibility. It's 22 here in Madison, 24 in Platteville, 22 in the Dells, and 23 in Watertown. A look at your forecast over the next 12 hours. Temperatures will climb to right around 30 degrees later on this afternoon. But unlike yesterday, there will be a southwesterly wind, keeping a little bit of a chill in the air through the afternoon. Now let's get a look at those first alert traffic maps. We'll see what's happening on area roads. Looks like there are a few brake lights showing up inbound on East Washington. A little bit of brake lights activity showing up as well on Stoughton Road. Otherwise, travel looking pretty good still. No accidents to report across southern Wisconsin this morning.
Good to hear this morning, because that might change with the cold weather, the flurries happening over the next couple days.
Yep, never know.
Keep an eye on it. All right, thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
We do want to start this hour at the state capitol, where right now state lawmakers are in their final stages of debate, working through the night in an extraordinary session. The bills they're talking about would limit the powers of the governor-elect and attorney general-elect. Our Josh Spreiter has been at the state capitol all morning. He's live with the very latest. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Yes, the Senate just entered that final debate stage to that bill that would limit the powers of the incoming governor and attorney general-elect. Just within the past 15 minutes, Senate Democrats actually tried to adjourn that session, but that move failed. This all comes after legislators worked through the night, even caucusing behind closed doors for several hours this morning. We'll get you caught up on what we know so far. Two bills were passed overnight. First, a bill to enact a Medicaid work requirement. This bill prevents Governor-elect Tony Evers from withdrawing a federal waiver request to implement the work requirement for able-bodied adults under 50. A transportation and tax bill was the latest one to pass this morning. That bill has to do with federal money for road projects, where to put online sales tax revenue, and some other tax changes. The proposal that is up for discussion on both floors right now limits the incoming Democratic leaders even more. It would eliminate the Solicitor General's office of the Department of Justice. It would also give the legislature control of the board of WISC. That is the Economic Development Agency. With lawmakers running on little to no sleep this morning, that frustration is ramping up, so it'll be interesting to see how this shapes up this morning. Again, Governor Walker is set to appear at President Bush's funeral today, and that's going to be happening this morning, so that still leaves plenty of time for him to return and sign those bills. So a lot going on here, and these are developing by the minute, ladies. So stay tuned here on News This Morning. We'll get you the very latest as soon as we can.
All right, we're going to check back with you a couple of times throughout the program. Josh Spreiter reporting live for us. Thank you, Josh. So Governor-elect Tony Evers is supporting his Democratic allies in the legislature, but says when and if the bills reach Walker's desk, it is unlikely that they will be vetoed. He talked about the extraordinary session on CNN last night, calling it an embarrassment.
Given the rancor and the posturing that's going on now, I think it's going to be very, very difficult. The time to stop it is now. That's the bottom line. Of course, we can try to reconstruct it during the budget or some other time, but the fact of the matter is this is bad public policy, and it's telling the people of Wisconsin that their vote doesn't count. And clearly, I can't believe the Republican majority thinks that's a good idea.
There are some political experts that believe this could have national ramifications by setting a precedent for this kind of session, by the way. Evers says Democrats will work with Governor Walker to try and convince him not to sign the bills into law.
The governor of the state of Wisconsin, Scott Walker.
Merry Christmas.
Not exactly the sound you'd expect to hear at the annual Capitol Christmas tree lighting yesterday. Governor Walker was greeted by loud boos during what should have been a festive event. Dozens of protesters were in the rotunda, some holding signs in opposition to that lame duck session. Their shouts drowned out a high school choir that was performing during the ceremony at one point. Walker later tweeted that he can handle the shouts, but, quote, leave the kids alone. Very quickly, 6:05 right now, we are just getting into the newsroom that the bill to limit the executive powers of both Governor-elect Tony Evers and the Attorney General-elect Josh Kaul has been passed by the Senate. That means this will be advancing to Governor Walker's desk. We will have more details on what that bill entails coming up in a little bit. But as Josh mentioned, Governor Walker will be in the nation's capital this morning. He is attending the funeral service for the late President George H.W. Bush.
Christina Laurie joins us now with more on that service. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning. As a lot happens in our capital, a lot in the nation's capital as well. The late president's funeral will mark the very first time that the president, Donald Trump, is in the same room as all former living presidents, as well as his 2016 campaign rival, Hillary Clinton. Bush's funeral is set to be a bipartisan mix of American leaders as well as global figures. Prince Charles, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and Jordan's King Abdullah II are among the world leaders planning to make the trip to Washington. Former Wisconsin Governor Tommy Thompson will also be there. Bush's son and former President George W. Bush will deliver one of today's eulogies. The ceremony will be the country's first presidential funeral since services for Gerald Ford in 2007. And after the service, Bush's body will be flown back to his hometown of Houston for another memorial tomorrow. And there's a unique push happening by businesses across the country to honor the late president on this National Day of Mourning. They're participating in Crazy Sock and Broccoli Band Day, a nod to Bush's well-publicized love of fun socks and hatred of that green vegetable.
I love that story.
I know, it's really endearing.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and a lot of people paying respects from all over the country. So we appreciate the details, and of course you can watch it live right here on CBS. Thank you so much, Christina.
You're welcome.
Now, all federal offices, including the U.S. Postal Service, will be closed today as the country says goodbye to their former president. As Christina mentioned, it is a national day of mourning. Wall Street trading is also taking a pause today. Markets will open back up tomorrow morning. And CBS is going to have special coverage starting just before 9 this morning on President George H.W. Bush's funeral. They'll show the memorial service starting at 10 and stay on air until the procession leaves Joint Base Andrews before 1 this afternoon. A note, you will not see regularly scheduled programming during those times today.
We are waiting to hear exactly why a Sauk County committee delayed a decision on an anti-hate resolution. That resolution is in response to the controversial photo of Baraboo High School students that went viral last month, where some of the young men appeared to be giving a Nazi salute. Now, the purpose of the resolution is to voice clear opposition to intolerance and discrimination in Sauk County, but the committee considering it yesterday postponed a vote until its meeting in January. Meanwhile, the Baraboo School District is outlining 12 different steps it will take to address concerns brought up by the photo. Those include taking annual field trips to Illinois' Holocaust Museum and hosting Jewish speakers in and out of the classroom. District Administrator Lori Miller says that sent these steps out to parents, that is, in a letter yesterday. The high school has also added a page to its website called Baraboo Acts, where they will publish news releases regarding hate and racism and add invitations to any programming.
UW-Madison is proposing to increase tuition for out-of-state students over the next 2 years. The plan, announced yesterday, would raise non-resident and international undergraduate tuition by just over $800 over the next 2 school years. That increase does not apply to Minnesota students because of a reciprocity agreement. Now, based on current enrollment, the plan would generate about $16 million. The UW Board of Regents will consider the plan at their meeting this week up in La Crosse.
Before you head out the door this morning, we have some lane closures to let you know about over on Verona Road. Southbound lane closures between the Fitch-Rona Road underpass and Raymond Road are scheduled to run between 9 and 3 for the rest of the work week. There will also be northbound lane closures, that is, in that same stretch overnight from 7 o'clock at night until 5 in the morning. That's so crews can remove and replace road markings for the winter months. Northbound traffic between Williamsburg Way just north of Raymond Road is also scheduled to shift onto the new pavement sometime in the next few days.
All right, 6:09 your time now. Soccer fans, concert goers, my neighbors over on the Near East Side, we're all about to find out whether we'll see some new renovations over at Breese-Stevens Field. We're talking about more seating, a new party deck, and other upgrades to the historic fields and how it'll step up your experience there. Coming up after the break.
Quick correction to what we just reported here, that the state Senate has passed a bill to limit the executive powers of the governor-elect and the attorney general-elect. That will now go to the Assembly, not to Governor Walker's desk. We will have more updates on the bills under consideration right now, as well as a check on your forecast coming up when News 3 This Morning returns.
This
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio. A pretty quiet start this morning. Just a few flurries still flying across southern Wisconsin. Wanted to let you know, though, that the Wisconsin weather calendar is still available. Here are all the details for ordering that calendar. You can order it online or send the money to us here at the station. Remember to include that return address so we can ship the calendar back to you. Filled with beautiful pictures taken around Wisconsin by our viewers. Now, our temperature trend yesterday, not very impressive. If you were outside taking pictures, you were in pretty cold conditions. Temps stayed pretty steady in the upper 20s through the afternoon, then dropped back into the low 20s, which is where we are this morning. Thick blanket of clouds lingering across the state and much of Minnesota this morning. So even though I wish I could forecast more sunshine, can't do it today. We're going to be under mostly cloudy skies once again. A few flurries possible from time to time. Temperatures are in the 20s here, but teens across parts of the central part of the state. Not a huge contrast in temperatures, though, from north to south. It's actually 23 in Superior right now. We're at 22 here in Madison. Janesville's at 25. Platteville checks in with 24 degrees this morning. There is a little bit of a wind, though. It's from the southwest, around 5 miles an hour, and that is enough to send wind chills down into the teens in some locations. And I'll show you that wind chill forecast today. It does keep wind chills in the teens through the early part of the afternoon, so bundle up if you have to spend any significant time outside. We have just cloudy skies in the area through the morning, right into the afternoon. Now, a cold front will be sinking southward through the state later on tonight, and it does bring a chance for some flurries at best, but most of that activity will be north of Madison. We will definitely notice a cool down behind that front, though, on Thursday. Plenty of clouds through the day, with temperatures already dropping back through the teens late in the evening. Here's a look at that snow potential. Pretty minimal for the area, less than a half an inch, and then mainly north of Madison. Here's a look at your extended forecast then. Get ready for some cold temperatures. 25 for a high on Thursday. We're starting out in the single digits Friday morning. That will be the coldest morning so far this season. Our coldest temperature so far is 13. We have lots of sunshine, though, in the forecast for the upcoming weekend with quiet weather and temperatures in the 20s. Does look like it'll warm up a little bit towards the end of next week, though, with highs in the upper 30s. There will be some chances for rain as well with that milder weather. Here's a look at your first alert traffic this morning with Josh Tim. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, it's another quiet start on the Beltline this morning. Nothing major to slow you down yet in either direction. Just a few brake lights showing up on the westbound side near the Stoughton Road exit. Other roads here in Dane County not looking too bad. Some of the usual slowdowns beginning to show up on Verona Road near the Beltline ramps. Everything moving well downtown around the Capitol Square and UW campus. Volume shouldn't be a factor at least for another half hour or so. And other main routes, including the interstate, they're moving along at the usual speeds with no crashes or delays. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Hattie. If you are crazy enough to jump on two wheels this winter and commute to work via bike, there's a workshop later today to help you do that. The University Bicycle Resource Center will be talking about tips to bike through snowy weather, maintenance suggestions to keep your wheels up to date, and other resources to help you stay upright this winter. It is free and open to the public. The workshop starts at noon in the Helen C. White Garage on campus.
If you know a farmer who is struggling with low commodity prices and tariffs on their exports, there's an opportunity for them to apply for financial support from the state. The Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection is accepting petitions for what are known as agriculture enterprise areas. That distinction allows farmers to receive tax credits of $5 to $10 for every acre of their fields, and that's only if they enter into a farmland preservation agreement with the state. In order to qualify, you, at least 5 other landowners nearby, and your local government have to file a petition. You can find more information by searching for petition materials on DATCAP's website. They're on your screen. The agency says although the deadline isn't until July, the paperwork can take months to prepare. Okay, we'll find out later today whether more improvements are coming to Breese Stevens Field in downtown Madison. The city's Urban Design Commission will vote on the latest renovation plans for the historic facility, which will host Madison's new pro soccer team in the spring. The hope is to add some more bleachers and a hospitality deck above the new concession stand that's already under construction. Officials say all of the improvements may not be ready for the team's first game, but the facility will still be usable.
The Green Bay Packers Foundation is honoring more than 200 organizations and charities in its annual grant program today. This year, the foundation is supporting groups involved in arts, culture, athletics, and education. There's a luncheon happening at 12:30 this afternoon to honor the grant recipients, where the foundation chairperson and Packers president Mark Murphy will speak. If you're interested in applying for a grant next year, the Packers Foundation is looking for groups focused on animal welfare, environmental issues, and health and wellness causes. You can find application information at that link right there on your screen.
The Packers have parted ways, meanwhile, with another member of their coaching staff after a critical social media post. Linebacker coach Winston Moss was fired Sunday night after tweeting that championship teams have great leadership and the Pack needs to find someone to hold Aaron Rodgers and everyone else to a #Lombardi standard. 9 hours later, Moss tweeted that the team was letting him go.
Tonight, the Bucs have a chance to move past their 136-134 overtime loss to the Knicks this past Saturday. The Deer have now lost 3 of their last 5 games. Tonight, they're going to try and protect the home court against the Detroit Pistons. The Bucs are now at a 15-7 record, putting them in second place in the Eastern Conference behind the Raptors. The Pistons are in 4th place at 13-8. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock tonight.
Meanwhile, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the Eastern Conference Player of the Month for the 2nd time in his career. He is now the first Bucks player in history to win the honor multiple times. The Greek Freak was the only player in the NBA to average at least 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. He tallied 8 30-point games so far in the season and recorded 2 triple-doubles during October and November. Pretty impressive there.
It is.
6:19 right now, the real-life version of X-Men. That's what our medical expert, Dr. Mandira Romero, was calling the work by a Chinese scientist who claimed to create the first gene-edited babies. Comic enthusiasts may disagree with that, but today in Madison, community leaders are going to talk about the potential ethical problems behind that research and what it could mean for the future of DNA.
And the Assembly is now taking up the main bill to limit powers for the governor-elect and attorney general-elect. The Senate just passed that bill within the last 10 minutes here. The latest from the Capitol, straight ahead on News 3 this morning.
Get
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Hattie McLean from the News 3 First Alert Weather Center this morning. Our forecast has temperatures starting in the 20s, 22 here in Madison and the Dells, 22 in Monroe, 24 in Platteville. Winds, though, are from the southwest, anywhere from 5 to 10 miles per hour. That is creating a little bit of a wind chill this morning. As you step out the door, it feels like it's in the lower teens early today. Wind chills will stay in the teens through the afternoon, only climbing to above 20 at 3 p.m. So here's a look at your bus stop weather forecast. Bundle up today as you head out the door. Temperatures will top at 30, but again, it will feel colder with the wind and the clouds in the area. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Hattie. Madison's Rotary Club will be talking about gene ethics as the science world turns its back on the man claiming he has created the world's first gene-edited babies. Now, China shut down the work of that scientist shortly after he made the announcement. That kind of gene editing is banned in most countries since it's experimental and could have unforeseen implications on future DNA. Back here in Madison, a UW professor on law and bioethics will talk about the ethical questions around human genome editing. That starts at 11:45 over at the Park Hotel downtown.
There's a conversation happening today on the UW campus about suicide prevention, particularly for people in the LGBTQ community. The Ask, Listen, Save workshop will take time to talk about suicide warnings, risk factors, resources on campus, and more. It's all happening inside the Red Gym tonight, starting at 6 p.m. All right, still ahead here on News 3 this morning. Josh Breiter has a live update from the Capitol, where the Assembly is the last legislative body to take a vote on the main bill that would limit powers for the governor-elect and attorney general-elect. We'll check in with him after Hattie's forecast.
And the entire country is observing a day of mourning as President George H.W. Bush is laid to rest. We'll have more on his funeral service today when News 3 this morning continues. Madison city leaders will hear how food share program changes affect the people who rely on them.
We have new developments from the state capitol this morning where legislators worked through the night on the lame duck session. I'm Josh Bruder, live with the very latest straight ahead.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to the final half hour of News 3 this morning. It is 6:28 on this Wednesday, December 5th, and we will get to those updates from Josh in just a moment here.
But first, let's check in with Hattie and her first alert forecast. She's got this cool cloudy pattern on repeat this week, Hats.
You're right, I do. I wish I could break out of that forecast, but we just can't. We have clouds in the area this morning. Still a few flurries flying here in the Hattie-O patio and likely elsewhere across southern Wisconsin. The live look from the WISC-TV Skycam is showing you cloudy skies right now. We're not picking up a lot in the radar map, but it is a little colder this morning, about 5 degrees colder in most spots. Here's a look at those current temperature readings. 22 from Watertown over to Madison and up to the Dells, 24 in Platteville. The warm spot this morning is 26 in Prairie du Chien. As you head out the door, though, you'll want to bundle up. Today, temperatures will climb to highs near 30 degrees, but there will be a little bit of a wind to factor in through the day. Wind chills will likely remain in the teens. Here's a look at your first alert traffic maps this morning. A few brake lights on Stoughton Road around the Beltline. Otherwise, a little slow heading inbound on East Washington right now, but no major delays or accidents to pass along to you this morning. So your first alert traffic still looking pretty good at this hour.
All right, thank you so much, Hattie. A bill to limit the powers of the incoming governor and attorney general has one more hurdle to clear before heading to Governor Walker's desk.
The country is really watching this morning as lawmakers here in Wisconsin work through the night to amend and vote on a number of bills. Our Josh Sprider has been there for hours now at the state capitol and joins us live with the very latest. Josh, what can you tell us?
Good morning. The Senate just passed that executive powers bill with a vote of 17-16, with one Republican voting against it. That was State Senator Rob Cowles. The bill is still up for debate right now in the Assembly. We'll get you caught up on what we know right now. This bill would limit the powers of Governor-elect Tony Evers and Attorney General-elect Josh Kaul and give some of those powers to the legislature. It would eliminate the Solicitor General's office of the Department of Justice, and it would also give the legislature control of the board of WISC. That's the state's economic development agency. But an amendment to the bill will restore the governor's ability to appoint the head of WISC after September 1st. Another amendment took out a provision that would have allowed the legislature to hire outside lawyers to represent the state when state laws are challenged. The Senate is now debating its final bill. This would enact a state-level guarantee of insurance coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. Also passed this morning a transportation and tax bill and Medicaid bill. Lots developing right now. Again, Governor Walker is going to be at President Bush's funeral later this morning. Those two bills so far that have been passed are sitting on his desk, so there's still plenty of time for him to get back and sign those bills yet today. But we are still going strong here, and it doesn't look like we're going to be ending anytime soon, ladies.
And certainly something, I know it's been a long night for a lot of the reporters there, all the lawmakers there as well. So we thank Josh for his reporting this morning. We have more details on all of these bills up on channel3000.com as well. Thank you, Josh.
New this morning, Janesville police have a man under arrest for first-degree homicide after a number of fatal drug overdoses. Taylor Fraunfelder is facing charges of homicide, felony child neglect, second-degree recklessly endangering safety, and delivering heroin. Fraunfelder did admit to officers that he served those overdoses. He's now behind bars at the Rock County Jail.
A Madison man is in custody after eluding and lying to officers. During the evening rush hour yesterday, Middleton police tried to pull over a driver who ran a stop sign near Allen Boulevard. That car drove away instead. Minutes later, this man, Ricky Warren, called 911 to report 3 armed men wearing masks pulled him from his car and then stole it. Police later found out that Warren's story was false and say he was the one who drove away from police. Warren's now in the Dane County Jail on a felony charge of eluding an officer. Madison police are working to find out who shot at 2 homes overnight. No one was hurt in these situations, but an 18-year-old woman was home around 7:45 when someone shot at her building in the 2000 block of Baird Street. That's off South Park Street near Penn Park. Within an hour of that, a 49-year-old woman came home to her patio door shattered on Fordham Avenue close to Tenney Park. Police believe that damage charge was caused by a bullet.
Time now is 6:32. It is a national day of mourning across America as the late President George H.W. Bush is honored by presidents past and present in the nation's capital later this morning.
Christina Laurie joins us now with more on how leaders, including Governor Walker and Wisconsin senators and representatives, are paying their respects to Mr. Bush today. Hi, Christina.
Good morning, Leah and Danica. Now, amidst all the chaos happening here at the Wisconsin State Capitol, as Josh said, Governor Walker is among the politicians making the trip to the nation's capital today to honor the late President George H.W. Bush. The attendance list as a whole serves as a bipartisan mix of former and current heads of state. Bush's funeral will mark the first time that President Donald Trump is in the same room as former presidents Obama, Bush, Clinton, and Carter. Prince Charles, and German Chancellor Angela Merkel are among the world leaders planning to make the trip to Washington. Now, after the service, Bush's body will be flown back to his hometown of Houston, where a second memorial service will be held tomorrow. Bush will then be brought by train to his presidential library, where he will be buried alongside his wife Barbara and their daughter Robin. And there's a unique push happening by businesses across the country to honor the late president on this National Day of Mourning. They're participating in what's being called Crazy Sock and Broccoli Band Day. It's a nod to Bush's well-publicized love of fun socks and his well-known hatred of the green vegetable.
You know, this president's going to be remembered for a lot of things, particularly lots of foreign successes, but I love this really personal remembrance.
Yeah. A champion for children everywhere who don't want to eat their vegetables. He banned them from being served at the White House.
I love that. I can get behind that kind of proposal. All right, Christina Laurie reporting for us. Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome.
The United States Postal Service will also be closed today as President Trump has declared it that National Day of Mourning in honor of the late President Bush. Other federal offices will be closed as well, along with financial markets on Wall Street. Now, CBS is going to have special coverage starting just before 9 o'clock this morning. They'll show the memorial service starting at 10 and then will stay on air until the procession leaves Joint Base Andrews just before 1 p.m. is when that's scheduled for. A heads up, you will not see any regularly scheduled programming today during those times.
Back here in Madison, there could soon be more studio and one-bedroom apartments available to the city's homeless. Chicago-based Heartland Housing wants to build a 58-unit complex along South Park Street, where there's currently a parking building and an old printing building. The plans call for transforming that space into a 4-story structure with parking and usable rooftop areas. The Urban Design Commission is going to take a look at the facade plans later this afternoon.
A group of Madison leaders will get an update later today on the effects of SNAP benefit changes on families struggling to get by here in our area. Some members of Congress are looking to Wisconsin as a model, that is, for future nationwide requirements when it comes to food assistance programs. New laws require food stamp recipients here in the Badger State to prove they work or are at least trying to find a job for at least 80 hours a month. That's set to go up to a minimum of 120 hours a month next year, with more employment aid and training programs available throughout the state. Unemployment is currently at an all-time low here in Wisconsin. It is almost 6:36 right now, and as if you needed it, there's another reason to crave Italian beef and Chicago-style hot dogs that you're about to get right here in Madison. We're talking about the new Portillo's coming to town and the new award that franchise is getting coming up.
Forget Midwest food. I'm looking at vacations during the commercial break because the number of flights headed out of our Wisconsin winter and down to sunny destinations is about to increase. We have the details on where and when you can head out when News 3 This Morning returns. All right, we have all been going and going and going with this breaking news out of the state capitol this morning. Let's all take a minute to stop and enjoy this sunrise picture by Kevin. Is that not the prettiest thing you've seen recently?
It's really, really nice.
I am a sucker, like I said, for a southern Wisconsin farm picture, so I just love this picture. Thanks so much for sharing, Kevin.
Yeah, this one comes from Argyle. We haven't gotten to that neck of the woods in a little bit with my morning pictures. Yeah, Kevin, thanks again. What does your morning look like? Take a picture, post it over on our social media pages. Whatever you do, though, please use that hashtag MyNews3Morning. It's the best way for us to find these pictures and then share our favorites every morning here on the program. It seems like we have been talking about the arrival of a popular Chicago-style beef sandwich shop for a really long time. Well, there's a little more waiting to do. In the meantime, there's even more of a reason to try it. Portillo's is scheduled to open early next year at Easttown Mall. There's no exact opening date, but construction does seem to be pretty close to done. TripAdvisor, though, did just name Portillo's the #1 fast casual restaurant in the country, followed by Earl of Sandwich in L.A. and Shake Shack in New York City. Until the Easttown location opens, the closest Portillo's is either in Brookfield or down in Illinois.
The Dane County Regional Airport says Frontier Airlines is going to add some more flights to a pair of popular destinations as demand continues to rise. Starting next month, Frontier is going to offer 4 flights a week to Las Vegas and Orlando. Those flights will depart from Madison on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I know Danica's now planning a trip to Las Vegas, aren't you?
Oh, that would be great.
Why not?
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right, well, there's another reason for you to check out those flights. Starting tonight, Patty's keeping an eye on the forecast and flurries that might be headed our way tonight and tomorrow. Then she's giving us another reason to sleep in a little later Friday to avoid some single-digit temperatures to start out the day. We'll check in with her again after the break.
We can only wish, right? It's first, though, it is December 5th. We want to say happy birthday to Wide-Eyed
Welcome back. If you're interested in learning more about Madison's history, there's a cool opportunity to see what things were like back in the 60s. Historian and author Stu Levitan is talking about his book, Madison in the 60s, tonight. It documents big historic milestones over that decade, from landmark civil rights being passed to pivotal campus protests and riots. Tonight's event at the Barrymore Theater is free. Doors open at 6. Mayor Paul Soglin will introduce Stu Levitan at 7. There is a book signing for you afterward.
All right, let's turn it over now to Hattie McLean with a look at another chilly and cloudy day. Hi, Hads.
Good morning, Danica and Leah. Yeah, we have temperatures in the 20s again this morning. A little bit colder than it was this time yesterday. 22 right now in Madison and the Dells, 25 in Mineral Point, as well as Janesville. We'll zoom the map out a little bit and show you a Midwest perspective on those temperatures. And you can see that through the central part of the United States, we actually have low teens, 11 in North Platte and Rapid City, 15 in Bismarck this morning, 22 in Des Moines, pretty close to what we are here in Madison. Now look at the flight delays. Things are pretty quiet around here weather-wise, so no delays showing up on the map. There will be some light snow possible through the Ohio River Valley. That may slow things down a little bit later on today, but generally a pretty quiet weather pattern today for the country. Now we are watching a developing storm system that's moving onshore. Central and southern California will be dealing with some rain as that system moves in. Also some pretty heavy mountainous snows. Going through the rest of the week, though, that storm system gathers lots of energy and moisture and works its way across the southern tier of the United States. A lot of rain expected for the south. Also on the northern side of the system, there will be a changeover to a little bit of snow with a narrow band of snow possible as well. But you see, going through the weekend, that storm stays well south of us, impacting the southeastern corner of the United States. So we actually have sunshine and quiet conditions in our forecast for the upcoming weekend. Here's a look at our current temperature this morning, 22 here in Madison. We do have some flurries right now. Winds are from the west-northwest at 3 miles an hour, so not much of a wind chill at this hour here in Madison. Going through the day, though, we are looking at wind chills in the teens right into the early afternoon hours, only hovering around 20 late this afternoon into the evening as you head home from work. So here's a look at your pinpoint city forecast highs today. 30 in Fort Atkinson as well as Watertown, 33 today in Stoughton. You may see a little bit of sunshine, but clouds will be the rule today. To the west, we're looking at high temperatures right around 30 in Dodgeville, 30 in Fenimore, and 31 in Muscoda. And to the north, 20s on the map, 28 in Mauston and Adams, 29 in Montello, as well as Princeton. Now here in Madison, temperatures will top right around 30 today. Some flurries are possible even tonight as a cold front moves in. That chance for flurries continues on Thursday. It will turn a little colder, though, with temperatures topping only in the mid-20s. As we head to Thursday, we're looking at a high of just 20 on Friday after starting out in the single digits. That'll be the coldest morning so far this season. Sunshine, though, is in the forecast as we head through the weekend with pretty quiet conditions. Here's a look at your pet walk forecast.
Oh,
Wrigley in Monroe.
love that name.
Yeah, very cute.
Looking pretty comfy there, Wrigley.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
Morning Sprint's coming up next, including a live update from the Capitol right here on News 3 this morning. It is almost 6:51. Time now for the morning sprint. Hattie says these cold temperatures could come with some flurries overnight. Before that, just more clouds for the day.
Christina Laurie is talking about Governor Walker's trip to Washington for President George H.W. Bush's funeral. But we start with Josh Spreiter live at the state capitol with the latest on the lame duck session. Josh?
Good morning. Right now, there are two bills sitting on the desk of Governor Scott Walker as legislators worked through the night, passing these bills that are still going strong this morning. Right now, one of those controversial bills is still being debated. That's the Executive Powers Bill. The Senate just passed it within the past half hour, but it's still awaiting approval by the Assembly. This is the bill that would limit the powers of the incoming Democratic Governor Tony Evers and Attorney General Josh Kaul. Some amendments were made to the original proposal, including restoring Evers' ability to appoint the head of WISC after September 1st. The bill also limits early voting to 2 weeks. Bills dealing with Medicaid work requirements and transportation were passed overnight as well. Be sure to get the minute-by-minute details on channel3000.com.
Thank you. Janesville police have a man under arrest for first-degree homicide this morning after a number of fatal drug overdoses. Taylor Fraunfelder is facing charges of homicide, felony child neglect, second-degree recklessly endangering safety, and delivering heroin. Fraunfelder did admit to officers that he served those overdoses. He's now behind bars at the Rock County Jail.
We are waiting to hear exactly why a Sauk County committee delayed a decision on an anti-hate resolution. That's in response to this photo of high schoolers appearing to give a Nazi salute. And the resolution is meant to voice clear opposition to intolerance and discrimination in the Sauk County community. But the committee considering it yesterday postponed the vote until its meeting in January.
Meanwhile, the Baraboo School District has 12 new steps outlined to address concerns brought up by the photo, including taking annual field trips to Illinois' Holocaust Museum and hosting Jewish speakers in and outside the classroom. The high school has also added a page to their website called Baraboo Acts, where they will publish news releases regarding hate and racism and add invitations to programming.
And our forecast today does include a lot of clouds across southern Wisconsin, even a few flurries from time to time. Temperatures will climb from the low 20s back to around 30 later on this afternoon. Southwest winds, though, a little stronger today than yesterday, keeping a bit of chill in the air.
State Capitol today. Governor Scott Walker will be in the nation's capital to honor the late President George H.W. Bush. Today is considered a national day of mourning as Bush is laid to rest. As former Presidents Obama, Bush, Clinton, and Carter, Prince Charles, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and Jordan's King Abdullah are among the world leaders planning to make the trip to Washington. After this morning's service, Bush's body will be flown back to his hometown of Houston, where a second memorial will be held tomorrow. CBS will have full coverage of President Bush's funeral starting at 10 o'clock this morning.
Christina, thank you so much. Federal offices are closed today in observance of a national day of mourning. The U.S. Postal Service is not delivering mail. The stock markets are closed as well. The Dow ended yesterday down almost 800 points within the last few minutes. President Trump is tweeting a Bloomberg report and quote, saying that Chinese officials have begun preparing to restart importing things like U.S. soybeans and natural gas, saying that they have agreed to buy U.S. products immediately.
President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, might not have to serve any jail time for lying to the FBI because he shared so much information with prosecutors in the Russia investigation. Special counsel Robert Mueller submitted the no jail time request last night. Prosecutors say they've interviewed Flynn 19 times, but details of what he shared have been redacted because the matters are still under investigation.
A major utility company with customers here in Wisconsin plans to eliminate carbon emissions by the year 2050. The Colorado Sun reports Xcel Energy, a utility that serves 3.6 million electricity customers around the country, made that announcement yesterday in Denver. Xcel is based in Minneapolis, but has customers in several states, including here in Wisconsin.
There could soon be more studio and one-bedroom apartments available to Madison's homeless. Chicago-based Heartland Housing wants to build a 58-unit complex along South Park Street, where there's currently a parking garage and an old printing building. The Urban Design Commission will take a look at the facade plans this afternoon.
UW-Madison could increase tuition for out-of-state students over the next couple years. The plan would raise non-resident and international undergrad tuition by just over $800 over the next 2 school years. Now, that does not apply, that is, to Minnesota students. Based on current enrollment, that plan would generate about $16 million.
City officials are looking to greenlight a redesign of James Madison Park. It would include new basketball and volleyball courts, shelter and picnic areas, and most controversial of all, a larger, more centrally located parking lot. Residents fear it will take away the feel of the current park. The City Board of Park Commissioners will take a final vote next Wednesday, December 12th, at the Warner Park Community Recreation Center. That meeting is open to the public.
A quick first alert traffic note. Southbound lanes of Verona Road will be closed between Fitchrona Road underpass and Raymond Road from 9 o'clock this morning until 3 o'clock this afternoon. And that happens for the rest of the work week here. There will also be northbound lane closures in that stretch overnight from 7 p.m. until 5 a.m. Northbound traffic between Williamsburg Way and just north of Raymond Road is also scheduled to shift onto the new pavement sometime over the next few days.
Speaking of first alert traffic, let's get a final look at the roads with Josh Tim this morning. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, we're still moving all right on the Beltline. Just some of the usual crowd beginning to show up westbound between Stoughton Road and West Broadway, but really nothing to slow you down at this point. Inbound John Nolan, you're tapping the brakes near the Rimrock intersection, but otherwise still looking good heading into the downtown area and other main routes, including the interstate. They're moving along at the posted speeds with no major crashes or delays. With your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh.
It's a cloudy start this morning. Temperatures are in the 20s here across southern Wisconsin. Here's a look at your day planner. Temps will climb to highs right around 30 later on this afternoon. A lot of clouds in the area through the day today, even a few flurries. No major snow accumulations, though, in our forecast for the next several days. We have just cold conditions. Sunshine finally returns to the area on Friday and sticks around through the upcoming weekend, even the start of next week. Temperatures are expected to warm up a little bit by the middle of next week.
All right. Thank you so much, Hattie. We will continue to have coverage from the state capitol today, where, as you can see, work is still going on. An all-nighter pulled by the Senate and Assembly.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.